Hey, this is actually the most outrageous setup I've ever attempted. I've got the normal Sony camera balancing on a small beam in the hotel room here that's looking like a high wire out of a circus, and I have it propped up a little bit with the laptop flipped down and slightly angled at an obtuse angle in order to prop it up just a little bit so you can maybe see my face. I don't know what it looks like. You might be looking at just like my bottom chin, so I'm gonna look like the secretary from the Powerpuff Girls, but we're gonna run it anyway. So, as you can see, I'm still on my little expedition away from home. I'm in my hotel room. Don't be alarmed. I know I'm not wearing a white shirt, but this isn't a cry for help or anything. It's very cold. So, I threw on one of the only long sleeve shirts that I had available. So that's the whole explanation there. Anyway, the reason I have urgently scrambled here to get to this computer in order to talk about something is because a huge story has been developing over the last, I don't know, like 2 hours or something, where SSniperWolf has now doxed Jack's films. I'm sure this is something that a lot of you are moderately familiar with, but I'll just go ahead and give you the really brief nutshell rundown of what's going on. I didn't make that cut right there on purpose. This has nothing to do with the whole video, but I need to mention this. The camera just fell on its own and stopped the recording, so we may have an angry poltergeist incident in here. I'm gonna have to get the fucking Luigi's Mansion vacuum out and just start going to town in here to clear the area, exorcise whatever spirits happen to be haunting this room. But I'm gonna finish the video regardless, but if you see my eyes roll into the back of my skull and I start levitating off the chair during it, just know, it's a haunting in Pittsburgh here. Or perhaps the cringe was too unbearable here with the subject we're covering. But anyway, back on topic. SSniperWolf, huge channel. She mainly does TikTok reacts, which has made her the punching bag of the internet recently. She's caught more fire than the sequel to the Hunger Games because a lot of people have been stating that what she does isn't really reacting to content, it's mainly just stealing it, freebooting it. And the entire internet has come together like this giant singularity and all collapsed onto SSniperWolf as well as some other React channels as well for this type of content. And by far the biggest soldier on the front line of this battle is Jack's Films. Jack's Films made a whole video going over why what she does isn't acceptable and even made an entire channel dedicated to making fun of her and her content. And he even has an entire bingo game that takes the piss out of her content more than a catheter takes the piss out of a hospital patient. He has pretty much daily uploads of just making fun of each of her daily reacts. This ongoing feud has been escalating and continuing for quite some time. We're in like season 5 of this anime arc here, and it's only popping off more and more. And this whole situation has led to a can of worms opening. Pandora's box has been unleashed. So it's been a massive conversation across the entire internet with tons of content creators weighing in on it, such as Dark Viper having an entire series on React content. Mudahar's made quite a few pieces on it as well, just tons of channels that have all been talking about it recently. And it's led to this witch's cauldron, this stew that's been brewing and bubbling, and now the cup runneth over, and all of this has spilt from the internet to the real world. Allegedly, SSniperWolf has just doxed Jack's Films. In an Instagram post, she posted this. And it was more than just this picture here. Apparently, she even posted one of his house, which obviously I'm not going to show you. I'm not here to just like hop on and give you like a 4K display of Jack's Films dojo here because SSniperWolf posted it on her story. It's just an extremely degenerate, fucked up response to this whole situation from SSniperWolf here. It's borderline illegal, I think. I don't think you can just dox somebody like this. And if it's not illegal, it's against YouTube's rules at the very least. And it violates the Geneva Convention of Internet Content Creators, where you never take internet beef into the real world. It's just going too far with this whole thing. Jack's Films was just making critiques on her content as well as making fun of it, which is something everyone does all the time, every single fucking day. And to go to this extreme where you dox him for it is just an incomprehensible, insano-style step. Now, Jack's Films posting about this on Twitter obviously gained a lot of traction. This isn't exactly some kind of like whoops-a-daisy moment, you know, a mistake that could happen to anyone. This is some pretty malicious shit. There's not really a defense of it. You can't just make the claim like, well, I just wanted to kind of talk it out face to face. Like, no. That's not how this works. You don't go up to someone's house like you're about to try and sell them solar panels in order to hash out your internet beef unannounced, especially not in the middle of the night too. That's threatening. Like that is not a normal, sane way of handling things. So when this started getting traction, Sniper Wolf herself caught on to it and deleted the post and then said this. She said, accusing me of doxing is defamation. I have no idea how to dox. He literally posted his address on Google and said I threatened him and doxed him. Jax Films said, you posted a video tonight of you outside our home to your 5+ million followers to see while my wife and I were inside. I can't make it any simpler than that. If that's not doxing, why did you delete it? That's kind of a checkmate moment right there. He got her with the scholar's mate. Like, you showed up to his house unannounced in the middle of the night, and then when people started to point out how that's not acceptable behavior and is very much in line with doxing, you deleted it. So you can recognize that it's bad. I don't really know how you'd Phoenix write an argument together that it's not doxing. Like, I don't even understand the statement she makes about saying that Jax Films posted his address on Google. She's talking about Google like it's the gamefaqs.com board. Like, I don't think he made a sponsored paid post with just his address as the first thing that comes up when you type in Jax Films. You definitely would have to go out of your way to find that information. I don't think he, like, geotagged his spot, made it like a Pokemon Go stop, and, like, really was advertising where he lives. Like, this is not common information. You went out of your way to find it and then went to his address. Like, I just really can't think of any justification for it. I've seen a couple of people huffing massive amounts of copium, nearly toxic levels of copium, saying, like, she went there to handle things like an adult, unlike Jax Films, who just speaks behind a computer. And that's just straight up delusional, if you ask me. No normal people are going to hash out their internet beef in the middle of the night in person, unannounced, right? Like, going up to his house like she's about to, sell solar panels to him or something and ambush him with this conversation about this feud they have is not normal or acceptable. It's just like a malicious, weird thing to do. And wow, that man, a ghost just haunted my vocal folds on that one with that voice crack. Goodness gracious. Overall, I'm just shocked that Sniper Wolf, with as long as she's been on the internet and as large as she is, would think for even just a second that she'd somehow be able to get out of this situation without huge backlash and problems from it. Again, this is something that extends beyond just like normal internet etiquette. This is like downright against rules to do something like this. So I definitely think Jax Films is in the right here. He's very upset about it, probably a little concerned because, who knows who else might go to his house next since she posted it on a massive Instagram account. Like, that is a legitimate fear. She also posted this, again in response to the whole situation, saying this creep has been harassing me for months, then plays victim, saying I threatened him when I just wanted to talk to him. I have no ill intentions. It's so sad when people have to constantly create drama to pay their bills. But this doesn't make any sense. Like, this is a crazy straw of a statement. It's taken all kinds of weird twists and turns that aren't computing in my little noodle up here. If you just wanted to talk to him, why wouldn't you just reach out to him through normal channels online? I'm sure he would have responded to you instantly. He seems to respond to everyone about everything in regards to the entire React situation. So I feel like if you had reached out to him, he would have been thrilled to talk to you about it. But again, I'm not his fucking PR guy. I don't know. Maybe you did reach out to him and he didn't see it or he ignored it. I have no idea. But regardless, you going to his house to try to talk to him that's some psychopath shit. That's not a normal thing that anyone should be doing. There's other channels that you could have tried beforehand. Go to one of his bingo nights on Twitch and be like, hey, listen, Buster, I'm ready to hash it out. Let's talk. And again, I'm sure he probably would have seen that. And that would be a lot less scary than having you show up in the middle of the fucking night to his home unannounced. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I think the goal here was to either scare him or put his information out there to maybe some less than savory individuals that could also scare him. I don't know, but regardless, the way you handled this is atrocious and dangerous. Like, downright, like, dangerous thing to do. So I totally understand the response from Jax Films about this and being frightened by it, because this is fucked up. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because I think this is one of the rare cases of a huge YouTuber making a massive blunder like this, where you would step on like actual rules and potentially laws all over some internet beef. So yeah, I just had to talk about this one a little bit. That's it. See ya. Hello down there. I just finished watching the Snow White live action remake, and now I'm leaving the parking lot on my way home. I wasn't going to see it initially because I'm beyond tired of live action remakes. I don't like them. I do not like green eggs and ham. And the only reason I decided to go see this one is because somehow there was a lot of hype for it, with people saying it's one of the best live action remakes ever made. Now that I've finished it, I can say I disagree. I apologize for the wacky camera angle here that looks like it's filming a dick pic, but I wanted to just give you my raw thoughts immediately after seeing it. I didn't really like it. I know there was a lot of controversy with the movie. Don't really know what it all was. I didn't pay too much attention. I know the star Rachel Zegler apparently had like some bad interviews or something, and Gal Gadot, people say, is like the worst actress of our generation. Couldn't tell you. All I know is I didn't like the movie. So setting aside the controversy with it, was the film good in its own right? Not to me, it wasn't. But I'm also not the target demographic anymore. I'm a fucking 30-year-old greaseball. The Snow White remake, it shares a little bit in common with the original, but it feels like it wanted to carve its own path. It's a little bit longer than the original, so it adds a little bit more. Not a ton, but it adds things that nobody gives a fuck about. And it really feels like there was two different visions for the film that ended up clashing. So they have the 7 dwarves, but they also have 7 bandits, which I don't get the point of. The only bandit that matters is the main one, Jonathan. Every other bandit, I don't think they even had a name. There was like one scene where they said one of their names, but you don't know who the fuck they're talking about because they have never mentioned any of them by name. I don't know why they're here. It feels like they're the remnants of what the original direction was for this remake. It feels like, at least that's my little fucking tinfoil condom conspiracy theory. It feels like the 7 bandits were supposed to replace the dwarves, but then they decided not to do that. So now you have the 7 bandits and the 7 dwarves, and it just doesn't mesh well at all. Really, most of the movie I don't think meshes super well. There's a lot of new songs in it that I didn't recognize from the original, and I thought they blew ass. I wasn't a fan. But there was a couple songs that I recognized from the original, and they were fine. Those were kind of fun. Like the classic Hi Ho. That was kind of sweet. Truthfully, I just don't have a whole lot to say about the movie, because it is absolutely just not for me. Also, I feel like I'm shouting at the phone screen right now, like I got headphones on. But, you know, it is what it is. It's just, I really feel like I'm at this point shaking my fist at the clouds. I don't see why you'd ever choose to watch this over the original. Like, it's not a bad movie, really. Like, it's not even terrible. I think there's things about it that don't really work for me personally. Like, but it's not for me. I'm not a 6-year-old. But, like, when I'm watching this and remembering the original, like the poison apple in the original, for example, big deal. Like an actual huge piece of the original. In this one, it's nothing. It is beyond nothing. So, like, the evil... So when Snow White gets the poison apple by Gal Gadot, she takes a bite and then she gets the sleeping death. Well, she only stays sleeping dead for like 10 minutes. It was a sleeping snooze. Like, she actually just took a nap because she was only in that state for 2 scenes, and then Jonathan came up and gave her a kiss. And then she was immediately freed from it. So, like, there's never, like, it doesn't even feel like there's ever anything at stake. It doesn't even feel like serious. It just, it's crazy to say this, but it feels like it moves so fucking fast despite being longer than the original, and yet offers less reasons to get invested, if that makes sense. Like, I shit you not, she gets the fucking poison apple, she falls asleep with Gal Gadot laying down all the evil stuff she's done. The dwarves come up and they're like, oh, jinkies. So then they hold like a fucking Viking burial, kind of. They put her on a rock, and they're like lamenting that she's shed the mortal coil. And like, it switches to the other scene with Jonathan, who breaks out of the castle, and then he immediately shows up, and they're still there, like over her body, her corpse. So I think it's really only been like 5 minutes. They haven't even begun the funeral, and Jonathan shows up, kisses her, and she's fine. So like, it never really feels like anything's a big deal. So you're kind of just there to enjoy the music more so than anything, which I wasn't liking. And to be honest, while it's just me and you here, I walked out of the movie. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say that, because I never walk out of movies. And this movie, like I said, isn't even like the worst movie I've ever seen or anything. It's not even the worst live action remake I've seen. But I walked out with like the last 15 minutes because I was just so fucking bored. I really was just really in a trance, like a fugue state, and I was ready to leave. So maybe the ending really saves it. Maybe the ending ties it all together with an absolute masterpiece, but I doubt it. Now, as someone who starred in the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, I feel qualified to opine on acting performances, and I would say it was fine overall. Like, I actually think Rachel Zegler did a good job as Snow White. Like, she didn't do anything like crazy. It wasn't, some kind of Oscar-worthy performance, but I thought it was really just fine. Gal Gadot, on the other hand, I do not think was the right choice for this role. It feels like she wanted to go like over the top and like ham it up, but was a little reserved. Like, didn't really commit to going crazy with it. And then it just kind of peters in this really bad purgatory of just being flat. Like, she's never over the top enough that it becomes charming and like Disney villain-like, but it's also not played seriously enough to the point where you like take her seriously, so she's just kind of dull. And everyone else around them, they don't have a big enough role to play for me to give a fuck to even talk about their performances. I guess, except for maybe Jonathan. But Jonathan, he just had to be in love with Snow White immediately, and that's kind of it. So he didn't really get a whole lot to do besides that. Anyway, though, that's kind of my review of Snow White live action 2025. I didn't like it very much, but I imagine if you're 6 years old or you just really like Disney live action remakes, you'll probably be pretty satisfied with the film, I think, most likely. Yeah, that's really about it. I'm driving right now, and I don't like to take my eyes off the road, so when I get to the next red light, I'll stop the recording. Hopefully you're having a good day. My day's really alright. Haven't done too much today except go see that movie. I guess I don't regret seeing it. I guess it was worth giving it a try. And now I know for sure. Probably done with live action remakes, you know what I mean? That's what it would look like if I was reading this news for the first time about the Microsoft price increases. But I read it earlier and I already got all my frustration out of the way privately, screaming into a pillow. This isn't some make-believe fish paste, a little video game industry boogeyman here with some false reports. This is confirmed that Microsoft will be increasing all of their prices across the board on hardware as well as accessories. And most notably, they are increasing the price on their Xbox first-party games to $80, following in line with what Nintendo's doing with some of their games. Now, you may notice, if you've got some keen peepers on you, I'm not in my normal domain. I'm in a hotel room. I'm in hiding, because I knew I'd need to escape because I'm about to criticize Nintendo again while talking about Microsoft, and Nintendo fans don't like that, so you gotta play it safe here. Nintendo, I think, has set the trend here. They've broken the seal that $80 games will be accepted by people. And by people, I mean gamers, which is a different kind of person because they will accept any kind of shit you feed them at any price point, it seems. And now, since that case has been made, with the Switch 2 making record-breaking pre-orders apparently, Microsoft feels confident that they can do the same and they'll follow suit, and I imagine other big boys in the gaming industry will also do the same because being able to put the squeeze on gamers' piggy bank a little bit stronger is good for the bottom line. And since a lot of people are defending the $80 price tag, gaming companies are going to go in that direction, and thus it'll most likely be the new norm. But I am surprised it's happening this quick. I thought there'd still be more of a buffer before other big gaming industry giants jumped on board the $80 price tag. Now, of course, Nintendo's not solely to blame here. A lot of it will obviously fall on the uncertainty with tariffs and all of that. That's absolutely a factor here, no doubt. And obviously it's something a lot of people are unhappy about. Except for the mindless drones who do free PR for multi-billion-dollar gaming corporations fighting their battles day and night on Twitter in the trenches to defend their honor, just so they can continue to be exploited for their piggy bank. So anyway, it's been a lot of talk on this subject throughout the day. Everyone is, weighing in, and it's been a big discussion, but there's been a surprising lack of coverage and a lack of discussion around my hot ass and this fucking fart I'm about to shit out. I don't know if the webcam mic could pick that up, but that was American made. That's tariff-free right there, I'll promise you that. The point is, though, $80 games sucks. And it's not like the price tag is indicative of a quality increase across the board, because in a lot of cases, the main formula these gaming companies look to exploit is live service. So you're paying $80 for oftentimes games that are incomplete and are only tended to after you've paid the $80, and then they'll go in and try and make it better down the line. So you're paying more money for a less complete project in a lot of cases. Of course, that's not an absolute statement. That's not a blanket across the board. But in general, we've seen this a lot in recent years where the idea is push it out now, let's make money now, we'll fix it later. And I really cannot understand how anyone could see the state that gaming is in right now and be like, yeah, it makes sense. I'll pay $80 for these games that keep coming out that are fucking broken on launch, missing half of the content that they've promised. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, that is pathetic. Like, no one should be happy about the direction of $80 games coming up right now. Anyway, though, I'd like to read you their pricing update that they just posted. As of May 1st, we have adjusted recommended retailer pricing for our consoles and controllers worldwide. We also expect to adjust the pricing of some of our new first-party games starting this holiday season to $79.99. Those titles purchased on the Xbox Store have the benefit of Xbox Play Anywhere, allowing players to buy once and play on console and PC at no additional cost. We understand that these changes are challenging and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development. Looking ahead, we continue to focus on offering more ways to play more games across any screen and ensuring value for Xbox players. The rising cost of development is something I've talked about a lot, how every game costs like $100 million now and like 6 years of development just baking it in the oven, only to come out and be just underwhelming. That is 100% on them. It's not like the industry norm. There are so many indie games that have proven you don't need $100 million budgets to deliver extraordinary experiences. It's just these suits, these fucking corpo zombies at the top of the food chain that are so delusional. They're seeing Hollywood investing $320 million in the fucking stinkerooskies like Electric State and then being like, we need to do that for video games. So that's been the direction they've gone for the last almost 10 years now. But I have said very loudly for a long time, the actual future of AAA gaming is by doing smaller projects that require less time to develop and less money and smaller teams. That to me, I feel like that's a no-brainer. Like, there are so many examples in recent years you can pull from of small teams or even one-man teams delivering game of the year like quality experiences. You don't need to be dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into the next Concorde. Like, it's just a stupid path, but they keep talking about it like it's an inevitability, how development cost has to continue rising, and every studio needs 500 developers all working on Assassin's Creed Shadows 2. Like, It's just super unnecessary. It is so much bloat for no reason. Instead, just put your money where your ass is and just invest in good projects that don't need to be like a super grand slam to make a single oodle of money back on the investment. Like, just think about how much a game has to sell in order to be profitable in the AAA space right now. Even if you do have a game that does really well, it's a good chance it doesn't make any money back because you've put so much money into it over the course of so many years that it'd need to sell like a fucking $1 billion worth of revenue in order to see it go green even slightly. Whereas if you had a bunch of smaller projects that don't need to be these crazy miracle home runs to make money, you stand a chance. Like, I really think the Blumhouse model, this is the one I always mention, where Blumhouse finances like fucking 100 horror movies a year that all cost like $2 to $5 million, and you probably haven't even heard of half of these absolute turbo shitters, but they only need to make like $10 million, $15 million to be like a super success for the company. And they always do. It's very rare that a Blumhouse film doesn't make more than the budget because it's so cheap to produce and it doesn't take that long. So it's a model that is proven efficient and works. And there are so many games that prove that model works too. But AAA is just so hell-bent on just dumping as much infinite money as they can into like one or two projects over the course of so many years. And they just end up being like super safe, Weenie Hut Jr., uninteresting. And even if they do moderately well, it's not good enough because it needs to do extraordinarily well to make any money back because too much went into that fucking pit producing it. And it's only going to get worse now at $80 being the norm because more and more people are getting priced out of buying AAA games. So what's going to happen naturally, more and more people are going to start pirating the games. But anyway, I'm rambling about things I've talked about a lot already. It's just, this is something a lot of people saw coming with $80 being the new norm once that floodgate was opened. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, so it sucks to see. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to rant about it a little bit here. That's about it. So yeah, it's pretty good. I know I've become a bit of an old curmudgeon who just doesn't really like superhero films. I don't really get excited to see them, but I did actually have some level of optimism for Thunderbolts because it looked a little different in the reviews on it. Jiminy Christmas, I think it was like the second highest rated Marvel movie ever, or somewhere in that general ballpark, at least for some period of time. I don't know if it still is. But heavens to Betsy, sports fans, I tell you, with the way people were salivating over this one, I half expected to go in a theater and have this movie rim me out. And now that I've finished watching it and I'm back in witness protection facility here, I can comfortably say this is not a top 3 Marvel movie ever made. Like, it's a good movie. I did enjoy watching it, but I think the hype is a little overblown now. And I'm not going to sit here and try and armchair psychologist you like a Redditor, but I'm going to spitball a theory that I think the reason people are so excited about this movie is because it's finally a new Marvel film that doesn't feel like you just wasted your fucking money going to see it. Like, a lot of them have just felt truly worthless and just like they have nothing to offer. This one is a good film, but I don't think it's like this masterpiece that's now started the golden age of Marvel films again. But it is a breath of fresh air in what has become a very stale set of films over the last few years, with a few exceptions, like obviously Guardians 3. But yeah, overall, it's solid. Now let's get into it a little bit. As you can tell from the trailers, you follow a ragtag team here with characters you're familiar with, but don't know all that well, such as Ghost, from one of my least favorite Marvel movies ever, Ant-Man and the Wasp. So the film already has its work cut out for you to make you care about someone that you just don't, like Ghost. And I actually think it does a good job at doing that because this movie focuses more on like the emotional aspects of these characters and the trauma they've been through and how that binds them together and how they can work together as a team to try and overcome what seems to be an undefeatable enemy with Sentry/Void. This isn't spoilers, you can get all that from the trailers. That's the premise of the film. They all come together in a way that's both silly and pretty exciting where they're fighting each other. And the fight between all of them is really cool. And you know who else makes an appearance in here? Taskmaster, from everyone's favorite Marvel hit, Black Widow. Every time I think of that movie, I can't help but mention just how absolutely fucking absurd it is that the main villain's power was just being stinky. He smelled, and the smell that you smell, that smelled smelly, made you not want to hurt him. In fact, it made you unable to hurt him. So how do you get around that? Whereas a force field of odor? well, you stop smelling it. So, spoiler alert for Black Widow, she breaks her nose and then she's able to hurt him. Wow, that was awesome. And Taskmaster's in that movie and completely ruined by it. And does Thunderbolts use Taskmaster better, finally giving redemption to what is otherwise an extremely cool character in the comics? Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Absolutely fucking not. It's even worse than I anticipated. Everyone who saw the trailer immediately theorized that Taskmaster was going to die early as like a show of force from the main villain, Void. It's not even that. Taskmaster dies for literally nothing. In the first 20 minutes, in the first fight scene, Taskmaster just eats a bullet right to the fucking noodle. And that's the end of Taskmaster. She just gets put down immediately. Her death served no greater purpose. It kind of became a joke for a little minute. Then they made a brief mention of how Taskmaster had a rough life, and that was it. I don't know who has a grudge against that character, but they really made it clear they fucking hate Taskmaster. Anyway, I immediately jumped into a critique here, but overall, I did like the movie. I do think it's overhyped, but I do appreciate that the film is a little different from most Marvel projects where it does dive into darker subject matter, like drug addiction, like suicide. And it shows you what all of these characters are going through and how they're all dealing with it in their own individual ways. And I think that's a very cool thing to do for these characters. And in turn, over the course of the film, you see them develop. You see them start to have a stronger bond to each other. And it's a film that finally focuses more on like the character development of the cast. And the performances in it definitely helped. I thought pretty much everyone did a good job here overall. And I really enjoyed the choreography of the action scenes early on. They were creative with everyone's powers. Even Ghost finally had some time to shine, because I think Ghost has cool powers. Basically, Obito from Naruto. She's able to like phase through shit and have things like go through her and all that. Like, it's cool. And it was nice to finally get to see them get creative with that. Really, all the characters got that treatment, except Taskmaster. That God rest her soul. But like, you know, Walker got it. Yelena was also really hype. Red Guardian, not so much. He was kind of just like the brute force tank of the group. He didn't have a whole lot of choreography. It was mainly just like yell and like charge and kind of like get big, and then sometimes a couple haymakers and some of this, which is fine because that fits his character really well. Like, I do like what they did with all the characters in all of the action moments. Bucky was super badass. So I do think they did great with the action. But I think it's important people know going in that Thunderbolts isn't really that kind of superhero film. It's not like a traditional superhero film where like they beat the villain through force or through clever tactics or anything like that. The action kind of stops happening after the first half. Like, yes, there's a fight scene towards the end with Sentry, but it's very simplistic. Like, it's just very much a one-sided thing with not a whole lot more to it. And then there's no fighting left. So if you're going in here expecting a lot of action, you'll get that to a good extent in the beginning, but not towards the end, because this is more of like a drama around these characters in this world and what they've been through. And the message it wants to get across, of course, being, you know, being alone sucks, but you're not alone. Now, Yelena, I think, was good in this movie. She's obviously like the main character here, but the most interesting character, I think, is Bob. I really think he's one of the more interesting characters in the MCU at this moment, and I think they did a good job with this character, and I'm really excited to see where they take him. There's no way I can get into some of the things I want to talk about without spoilers, so we're diving back in again to spoilers. These are some big ones. Spoiler warning. I think the film is extremely predictable with how it all wraps itself up. If you watch my streams, you'll know I made a prediction on how they beat someone as powerful as Sentry/Void. I was very close. I was almost right on the money with that prediction. They, of course, could never beat him in real combat. They instead had to match him emotionally. And, of course, the whole theme being about how this guy, Bob, is, you know, he's gone through a lot with addiction, depression, and everything that he's experienced. He had a really rough childhood. His upbringing was bad. And he feels so alone, thus Void. Well, they solve it with an anime lesson in the power of friendship. And, like, to me, that just felt like it fits. It obviously fits. But having it be a group hug at the end that defeats Void just feels really unfulfilling and very much like a like kind of how Soul Eater ends with a friendship punch. It feels just a little underwhelming, but it's not that bad because again, this isn't a film that's supposed to show you how strong these characters are and what they're capable of doing and how they could stack up against all of the Marvel greats from the past Avengers or anything like that. It is more of a character piece in showing their development and how they come together and form a family, which is something all of them so desperately want. And I do think it does a good job of getting there. But with how dark a lot of the subject matter that it tackles here and it talks about, it just felt kind of a little too on the nose about like, if we all hug, we're no longer alone and Void is defeated. So I don't know. Again, it was fine. It wasn't like bad or anything. I just felt like there was probably more they could have done there because through the power of family and friendship, they defeat the undefeatable and undoes all of the death and destruction that was caused. It literally just like brings everyone back instantly. But one other thing I want to briefly mention is that even though every character is given some level of depth and fleshing out on the things they've been through and their trauma, I do feel like a couple of the characters don't really get a chance to do much. Most notably, Ghost, and to a lesser extent, Walker. Walker gets a little bit more to do. Not a ton more, but a bit more. Ghost kind of is just a character that's in the background a lot in the second half of the film. Like, yes, she still contributes. Yes, she's still present for everything, but she doesn't really play a role in a lot of the things that start developing. And I was expecting more out of Walker because in the beginning, he was like, the big asshole guy who was, squaring off against Bob and busting his balls and stuff. And then that just vanishes pretty quickly. He stops being that guy. And then when he stops being that guy, he kind of just gets sidelined like Ghost for the second half of the film. So it's not the biggest deal in the world because when you have this many characters and you're trying to, develop all of them and give the audience a reason to care about them, like some of them are going to get more attention than others, like Yelena obviously being like the main character. So I get it. It's just something I wanted to mention. It would have been nice to see them also get some more attention in the second half, but not that big of a deal. But anyway, I liked Thunderbolts. It was refreshing to finally get something a bit different than we've been getting served the last few years of just forgettable mediocrity. This was finally something that I definitely think was worth seeing. That's really about it. So yeah. On humanity's global leaderboard, I think I comfortably rank second place for most predictions proven wrong. I'm just behind Jim Cramer for his absolutely atrocious, awful, abysmal investment advice being wrong almost 100% of the time. I am just below him, where almost every prediction I ever make gets proven wrong immediately upon me making the prediction. I literally jinx the opposite into existence. I manifest it. And such is the case with Grand Theft Auto 6. For the longest time since the trailer dropped, I maintained the position that GTA 6 would not be releasing in 2025. I said, fiddlesticks, it's not coming. There's no way they're going to deliver this game in that short a time frame. And I was pretty vocal about it on streams, and it caused more shit to be flying than 2 Girls, 1 Cup. People did not like that, saying how stupid I'm going to feel for getting another prediction wrong. It's 100% coming out in 2025. You're going to look like such a fool, Charles. And even Rockstar themselves seemed adamant about the game coming out this year. Come hell or high water, GTA 6 will arrive in the big 2025 for sure. And after enough time, there's a bear shit in the woods. Eventually I said, all right, I believe you. I started singing a different tune. And only like 3 days ago, we were talking about it on stream. And I was like, yeah, I really do think GTA 6 is coming out this year. And now, 72 hours later, they made an announcement that it has been delayed till 2026. That seems just like a big fuck you to me, to be honest. That seemed like it was directed out of spite purely at me for finally locking in that new prediction, going back on what I initially said in regards to GTA 6, and it sucks. I really do think there is some unexplainable cosmic force out there that, when it hears me make any prediction at all, it changes, the molecules of our reality. It shifts everything in order to ensure that I am proven wrong instantly in regards to whatever I predicted. Yet I could never channel this power for good, only ever evil. Anytime I try and gamify this with the reverse psychology approach of trying to manifest something I want to happen through saying it'll never happen, it truly just doesn't happen. So it only works one way, and it's the one that fucks me in the butt every time. I cannot remember the last time I accurately predicted something. And the crazy thing is, it's never even close. Like, I made a prediction for the Stanley Cup saying the Lightning will take it this year. We're not the best team in the NHL this year, but we were solid, and I thought we'd have a nice deep playoff run, and if we didn't win it, well, at least we would have come somewhat close. Brother, we got blasted in the first round. The Panthers came in and they stirred our pasta. Also made a bold prediction for the NBA championship, potentially going to the Lakers. Storyline would have been crazy. Thought there was real potential there. The Timberwolves came in there, put them over their knee, and fucking disciplined those cheeks. It was, once again, another first round elimination. I couldn't have been more wrong. They got pooted on. It was disgusting. Like, every prediction I make, I'm not even close with. I'm outright wrong in the biggest possible way with it. Anyway, though, let's go back to the subject at hand here with Grand Theft Auto 6. So they posted a message saying, "We're very sorry that this is later than you expected. The interest and excitement surrounding a new Grand Theft Auto has been truly humbling for our entire team. We want to thank you for your support and your patience as we work to finish the game. With every game we have released, the goal has always been to try and exceed your expectations, and Grand Theft Auto 6 is no exception. We hope you understand that we need this extra time to deliver at a level of quality you expect and deserve. We look forward to sharing more information with you soon." Pretty simple and to the point. It's not super surprising. It's what I thought in the first place, but then eventually I got dragged kicking and screaming into hopium, into believing in the miracle that somehow GTA 6 would come out in 2025, even though I knew better. I knew better. Also, I'm pretty surprised they still haven't dropped any like screenshots or anything, even though it is pushed to May of 2026. I'm still just a little surprised that with this message there wouldn't be some kind of mention of like an upcoming trailer or any kind of new details or new images of GTA 6 or anything, which makes me think maybe it gets delayed again. I don't want to lock that in as a formal prediction. It's just something to put out there on the record, just something to think about. Just food for thought. Not a real prediction, of course, but just maybe, who knows? It's hard to say. It's GTA 6. It could get delayed again. They might want to go even bigger, and maybe May 2026 still isn't enough time. We'll see. I'm just saying, it's not a prediction. Not a prediction, just something to toss out there into the universe. Anyway, though, that's about it. So, yep. Hello. I'm not exactly an avid explorer. I only ever leave my swamp once every 6 to 8 months. I'll venture out of Florida, but it's pretty rare. And right now I'm in New Orleans, and I want to give you my review of New Orleans after spending 72 hours here so far. I'm located in the heart of New Orleans, I think. Maybe, I don't know, I'm kind of just pulling that out of my ass. I feel like that's probably an accurate statement, though I've only spent, all 3 days within a 10-mile radius of the convention center, but I'm told that's where all the hot spots are, so I feel confident in making that bold assessment there. And I recognize that 10 miles around the convention center is a pretty limited sample size to experience all that New Orleans has to offer, the whole kit and caboodle. But even still, I'm going to give you my review 3 days in. It's alright. It kind of just feels like every other city I've ever been to. The only real difference I've noticed so far is that there's 200 cockroaches to every one human being here. It is an astonishing amount of cockroaches. These bastards are spawning in left and right. And I've lived in Florida my whole life, and it is blowing me away. I've seen more cockroaches in the 3 days I've spent here than I have all year in Tampa. Now, for me, it's not that big of a deal. There was a time when I was a little baby bitch boy afraid of those little bastards, but now I've evolved into a 30-year-old, brave, courageous fucking titan of testosterone, and I don't fear a cockroach. I spit on them. In fact, I stepped on one earlier today. That little asshole met a sad fate at the destruction of my size 10 Skechers, and it went straight to Valhalla. Didn't bother me at all. But I feel like a lot of people might find them kind of yucky, so I figured it was worth mentioning here in the review. But also, I do think there are people that might be excited by that many cockroaches. I know cockroach milk has been getting a lot of steam recently in like the health foods community, so if you're someone that likes to go out there and milk the titties of the cockroach, you got your pick of the litter down here in the city. I'll tell you what, there is an ample supply of them. Now, by far, the biggest thing New Orleans is known for is its food. Everyone is constantly glazing the cuisine here, said to be some of the best in the country. So that was something that I was very excited to try. And the food we had today was extraordinary, but for the first 2 days, that was not my experience with it. Though I think, admittedly, it's because we couldn't get into any of like the really, coveted spots. Like the highest rated spots, they were not available for us to eat at. So for the first 2 days, I was kind of just eating normal, like, bar food or like normal restaurant food. Though when we were walking around, I did see a place that claimed to have the number one voted wings and the number one voted burger. Not just in New Orleans specifically, but just the global number one voted wings and burger. I don't know what council of meat decided those things, but apparently it topped the charts, and I really want to put those claims to the test because that establishment did not seem like the kind of place that would have good food. It seemed like the kind of place where the only hamburger I'd be getting served was through the fucking glory hole in the bathroom. Like, I'm excited to see if it lives up to the hype that was on the sign there. But yeah, like I mentioned, first 2 days the food wasn't, blowing my nut off or anything like that. We did have one place called Felipe's where they were serving super burritos, and that was good actually. I enjoyed that a lot. It wasn't like the best burrito I've ever had in my life or anything, but I did really enjoy it. It was a solid burrito. Though the experience of getting the burrito was pretty interesting. We Uber Eats'd it, and our Uber Eats driver thought that Matt was setting her up, like it was some kind of operation to like get her. So it ended up being like a shouting match between Matt and her cousin over the phone or something, all over this misunderstanding. She was also apparently yelling at the hotel staff about it before Matt was able to go get the super burritos. I mean, it all had a happy ending because it wasn't a setup or anything, but it really, I mean, tempers were flared from the super burrito quest here. That shit was like the Chaos Emeralds, but the super burritos were good. It was definitely an interesting Uber Eats experience, though, for sure. So Felipe's was good, and then today we ate at a place called the Foundation Room. That place super slapped. That was absolutely amazing food. They also had like like a live jazz band there that was crushing it. The appetizers, like actually probably some of the best like blue crab dip I've ever had. And by that I mean it's the only blue crab dip I've ever had, and it went insano style. So everything about the Foundation Room food was really good. After that, we went to Cafe Du Monde, which is another like really famous spot in New Orleans. From what I understand, one of the most famous, and that's a place that serves like really good coffee and beignets, which I've never had. It's basically like fried dough. I didn't get any coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I can tell you the beignet I got, it was good. I'm not really like a donut guy or a fried pastry enthusiast, but this one was something a little special. What you get at Cafe Du Monde is you get a bag of powdered sugar, like almost a full fucking bag of powdered sugar with like 3 loaves in it, like of fried bread. And what you do is you have to dig around in the powder to find those loaves, or at least that was my experience with it. It was like panning for gold, but it was fried dough in the powdered sugar. And when you get it, it's delightful. It's exactly as it sounds. Fried dough with powdered sugar. I liked it. Even though I'm not someone that typically has a sweet tooth, it was a nice little dessert. We also went to Bourbon Street, which is a really famous part of New Orleans. It's just like the strip of bars and other kind of like nightlife activities. That was filled to the brim with human beings. That was a fucking wall of meat. We stopped at Pat O'Brien's, I think it was called, was the name of the bar. We all got some drinks there. And while we were sitting at one of the tables, a fight broke out. And I mean a fight. Like, this wasn't slap boxing, no pussy shit, no Weenie Hut Jr. Like, they were coming for scalp. This was pure animosity. And it wasn't between, like, just drunk patrons at this bar. It was 2 staff members fought each other. No idea what it was about. I didn't get, like, the lore breakdown or anything here, but it popped off. It started with one of the staff members throwing the other guy onto a table. The tables were made out of fucking cast iron. It sounded like a bomb had blown up or like a dump truck crashed into a building. It was a loud bang. So then naturally all of us turned to watch this rumble unfold, and it was pretty intense. There were punches being thrown. They were throwing hands out there, but then they grappled, like they wrapped up, and then they were kind of just like tussling back and forth while the other staff was like trying to separate them to the best of their ability. And when they finally did get separated, one of the guys walked away completely covered in blood. But I don't think it was his blood. It was all over his shirt. Like, it looked like he had cut a man's head off. He had that much blood on him. It looked like a butcher had just gone to work. Covered in blood, and one of the guys that separated him had a ton of blood on him too, so I'm guessing it's the other guy. And our best guess at what happened is that he must have thrown like an uppercut while they were like grappled in there and broke the guy's nose. Like his nose must have like actually exploded because there was so much blood. Blood on the ground, blood on them, everywhere. It was pretty crazy. And I feel like if they didn't get separated, that fight probably wasn't going to end until someone was in a coffin. It was brutal. They were not messing around. So then we finished our drinks, and then we went to the next bar, which was a place called Corporation, world famous Corporation, just like a dive bar that a lot of people seem to like around here. It was pretty cozy, really quiet, a completely different experience than on Bourbon Street. We left the PvP zone, so we just kind of chilled there for a little while, and then now I'm here giving you a little New Orleans review. Another thing I noticed is I wanted to go see Thunderbolts when we first got here, but all of the showings for the movie stopped at like 9 o'clock. And then when I looked up like places around here to go for like a couple of supplies that I didn't get before coming, like a toothbrush and shit, a lot of the stores here just also close at like 9 o'clock or earlier. So like it feels like it's the city that always sleeps as opposed to the city that never sleeps because everything closes really early, at least compared to like Tampa. In Tampa, our movie showings go all the way to like 10:45, even on like a Monday and shit. And I can always go and get like a toothbrush and toothpaste till like 11 p.m. from places. Now maybe, again, I've only spent like a 10-mile radius in New Orleans all around like the convention center. So maybe it's just this general area has like most of the stores and most of like the other kind of facilities close around that time. Now, I have a hunch that Bourbon Street probably isn't closing at 9 or 10. I think pretty much everything over there is going to be open much later, like all the bars and everything. Café du Monde, I'm almost 100% sure is 24/7. It said that it was open 24 hours. So I think over towards that direction is where most of the things stay open really late. But it's nowhere that I could find to go see like Thunderbolts or get a toothbrush. Just something I thought was worth mentioning. Or maybe, again, it just wasn't giving me all of the options that were available in the immediate area. Also possible, but wanted to mention that. Another thing is there's a casino, like, right here, which is very interesting to me because in Tampa, our casino is the Hard Rock, and it's, like, off on its own little place. It's not exactly something you can just go walk to from anywhere in downtown. Whereas here, it feels like it's the centerpiece in the area. So, like, anytime we're walking around, we'll, like, walk past the casino or hear people getting fired up at the casino. Also, another thing that I thought was really weird is down Bourbon Street, there were a handful of locations there that had these signs out front that said they don't card. They outright advertised that they don't card at those, like, bars. I think they were bars, a few of them. I think another one was, like, a dispensary, but I'm pretty sure they were bars, and they literally say on their sign they don't card people. Now, maybe I'm just a fucking lobotomite here, but I don't understand how they haven't been shut down. I don't know how the cops aren't, like, swooping in there, scooting in sideways, just zooming, seeing that these businesses, these bars, are advertising that they don't card people before serving them alcohol. That seems very odd. Oh yeah, and another thing on Bourbon Street. There was really a lot of interesting stuff on Bourbon Street. There was a car driving through. It's one of those cars that has like the three wheels and it's like all open. And the guy driving it was playing like loud music and he was just openly carrying alcohol and like, headbanging with it, just openly drinking and driving and celebrating that. That was fascinating, I thought. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm on the crack pipe and it wasn't actually alcohol. I couldn't see like a label. It just happened to look like it was alcoholic. But maybe it wasn't. I can't say for sure. Anyway, Bourbon Street was an adventure. Yeah, that was definitely an adventure. So overall, my 3 days in New Orleans, today was by far like the most fun day in New Orleans, I would say. Yesterday, when we saw Thunderbolts, we went to like the mall here. The mall was pretty cool. I actually liked the mall. It was very like old-fashioned style mall. The movie theater was like very old-fashioned, very comfy. Like it was cool. But yeah, I'd say New Orleans, it's all right. I mean, it just feels like most of the other cities I've been to for the most part. Now, the food, like it's big, big thing that people talk about. I will say the hot spots that we have been to, like the places people actually rave about, are incredible. But as for like just normal food, It's normal food. So if you want like the culinary experience everyone likes to talk about in regards to New Orleans, you have got to go to like the most famous spots here. And I do think they live up to the hype. I haven't been disappointed by it yet. So yeah, anyway, that's a review of New Orleans after 3 days here. That's about it. So yeah. A couple months ago, I was briefly talking about a TikToker on stream who had been arrested over urinating on grocery store food, and I've only loosely followed it over the last couple months, but I recently saw Tozy made a follow-up to it, and there was even more stunning revelations to this lady and her addiction to tinkling on items. And I wanted to fill you in here on the lore for this menace and what she is now facing, as well as just give a warning to all New Hampshire residents out there that you are not safe. Now is the time for panic, screaming in the streets, kind of like in the movie 2012, but if the world ended with piss from one woman.
This is a real shocker.
Yeah, she needs some kind of help, something.
I mean, nothing surprises me anymore.
Shoppers in Keene are equally confused and disgusted after learning about the arrest of Kelly Tedford. The 23-year-old is now charged with felony criminal mischief, accused of using her own urine to contaminate products at the Monadnock Co-op grocery store and posting a video of the act online.
Now, in the beginning, she was referred to as a TikTok content creator, and initially I was under the impression this might have been some kind of desperate, deplorable challenge, the grocery store piss challenge or something like that. But from what I can tell, she's more of an OnlyFans creator. Like when you went to her profile, that'd be the main stuff that was on there, about 18 plus content. So it is technically true that she did make TikToks, but this would be like calling Riley Reid a rapper. Like, yeah, it is true, Riley Reid has a rap song, but I don't think many people would argue that was like her primary career. But anyway, Kelly Tedford had been investigated, and they apparently found evidence that she has a history of doing this going back 4 years, at least. That's a lot of possible piss contamination there. If you're a New Hampshire citizen, time to start scrubbing that mouth out with soap. Like, there is a good chance that some of the items you've eaten over the last 4 years may have had her little brand of flavor added to them, a little garnish on top, courtesy of her fucking urethra. Haunting stuff. Now, initially she was facing charges of criminal mischief for those videos and what they found through their investigation. I was surprised that it wasn't, like, more serious charges for it. Like, I thought it might go all the way up to fucking bioterrorism. But she was facing criminal mischief charges, and now she's facing even more charges, additional dessert here, because it turns out not only does she love tinkling on food, she just loves to piss on everything. She is constantly marking territory. She is like the grossest woman out there. They've discovered that she was apparently peeing all over her hotel room at one point. And I mean all over. There was nothing spared, not even the Bible. Apparently back in January, she filmed another video for her Kinky Kelly OnlyFans account. That's her super villain alias on there, where she was in a hotel room peeing on an air conditioning unit, comforter, curtains, Bible, and also took a shit on the floor, picked up the poop, and then put it in the tank of the toilet, literally dropping an upper decker into this toilet manual, like old-fashioned style, analog. She didn't just like take a shit into the top turnbuckle of the toilet. She literally picked it up with her bare paws to put it in there and hide it. Sleep in fear, New Hampshire. Kinky Kelly might just swoop in the middle of the night like a burglar and waterboard you with urine. It is like you can't eat, you can't sleep without the fear of her having been there and contaminated with piss for her OnlyFans. But I think, food for thought, I feel like she might do it just for the love of the sport. Like, I don't even think she was making a killing on OnlyFans doing this fetish content. I bet she just has an addiction to pissing on things. So who's to say that every hotel room in New Hampshire hasn't faced her wrath at one point or another? We just haven't discovered it yet. She's a fucking disgusting menace. Who knows how far she would have pushed this if she wasn't taken in. Like, maybe she was cooking up some kind of nefarious Batman Begins level plot where she was going to aerosolize her urine and spread it throughout New Hampshire to have people hallucinating and vomiting from it from the fumes. There's no telling. But now that they found even more evidence of her doing this in even more places on more things, she's facing even more serious charges, so she might spend some meaningful time behind bars. Which I think I think that's par for the course. I feel like that's appropriate here. Like, she was contaminating food items in places where people sleep. Like, that's bad. It shouldn't be a light sentence for her. But anyway, while she's in custody now, New Hampshire can sleep a little more peacefully knowing she's no longer terrorizing your food supply or your living quarters. So that's good, and I guess we'll see what happens to Kinky Kelly going forward here. All 30 of her OnlyFans subscribers are probably distraught. They're going to have to get their piss content elsewhere, I suppose. But yeah, I just wanted to give you a little update on this since we talked about it on stream a couple months ago. That's about it. So yeah. On the list of unforgivable sins, you will find lying to gamers among some of the most foul. It was one of the 10 commandments, thou shalt not lie to thy brethren gamer, and yet we continue to see it happen time and time again here in the industry. Fake games. It's something that we've talked about over the years, most notably with The Day Before, how they used fake gameplay to sell the idea of their game. It became one of the most wishlisted games in Steam history. Eventually the game comes out, it's nothing like what it was advertised to be. It was complete fucking dog shit, super stinker, not worth the time, just downright fraudulent. It was a big, embarrassing mess, and Day Before is not the only example of this. It's actually been extremely common recently, thanks to AI being more accessible and more convincing. There's been a lot of shady weirdos making these fake trailers for games that will never come out in order to just try and squeeze some doubloons out of these gullible suckers that will just throw money into projects that are absolutely never going to exist, or at the very least never going to look or play like what is being advertised through these fake trailers. And that brings us to today with something that kind of came out of nowhere called God Save Birmingham, where they released a gameplay trailer for this new zombie game. And it raised some eyebrows because something definitely seems a bit fishy with it. It's a little off. And I watched the gameplay trailer and scratched into the hairs on my chinny chin because it just didn't seem like a real game at all. This shit looked faker than the titties on your grandmother. You see the gameplay for God Save Birmingham? Yeah, it looked fake to me. I'm just gonna say it. That did not look like a real game. At least in like the little clips I saw, this didn't even really look like a game. This looked like what Day Before did. Hopefully I'm wrong though. Deadly physics? No. Deadly physics? What does that even mean? Holy. They've elevated physics. Fuck. See, like, these are just such meaningless numbers. Like, when I was watching this, and you'll see some of the gameplay in a moment, I haven't seen the full 8.5 minutes, but when I watched some of the combat, it really feels like exactly what Day Before did with their fake game to drum up, like, hype to be the #1 wish-listed game on Steam. Like, what do you mean, hunger minus 83 and thirst minus 8? This literally looks like AI. Well, a couple of the things to me really stand out. Like this whole thing of looting and eating with like the buffering bar like that. That feels so phony baloney. And then these just like random minus 83 hunger. Like, you see what I mean? Like, this just does not feel like an actual game.
Damn thing.
It just looks like all scripted animations, not like an actual game or a player doing this. It just looks like something they set up for the sake of this 8-minute trailer, where the game itself will absolutely not play like this, and God forbid if it does, it would be the most tedious, slow, boring game ever experienced by human beings. Listening to a lecture on the Krebs cycle would be more stimulating than playing a game that looks this agonizingly slow, where even something as simple as swinging an axe looks like it's going in slow motion, like it's directed by Zack fucking Snyder. It's disgusting. Like, it just does not even look like a game that is being played at all.
These physics are deadly, though. I'll tell you that much.
All this for a few drops of blood.
No, his exhaust meter's going up. His panic meter, too! No! So many meters! He's gonna get thirsty again soon, too. Yeah. Okay. That's so hype.
Oh, damn it.
Deadly physics! Oh my god!
It also feels like they tried to shoehorn every possible meter they could think of into this gameplay reveal. An exhaust meter, a panic meter, a hunger meter, a thirst meter. There's probably a meter for the cum in your balls, and if it gets too high, you're going to have a nocturnal emission during the night, and then you have to change your pants and go out on an adventure, maybe get jumped by zombies for new undergarments. Like, there are so many meaningless meters here, it's absurd.
Sprained ankle. Yep, leg injuries. Called it. I knew it. I just felt it. Now he's gonna have to go get medical attention. Well, he lost all the leg injuries and everything. He's no longer panicked. Just a little thirsty, a little hungry, a little exhausted. Possibly the most tedious game I've ever seen a trailer for. Why does every single action need a little bar for it? Like, why does every door opening, every interacting, every looting, every eating have a fucking buffering bar on it? So unnecessary. So cool. He's gonna die from exhaustion soon. He's gotta be careful. Oh, thank God, minus 10 thirst. No, his drunk meter. Uh-oh.
Fuck.
Why won't the Lord save Birmingham? No! Wonder if there'll be a battle pass. Bro, there's not even gonna be a game. I mean, there's going to be a game. It's just gonna be nothing like this trailer at all.
Now, I have heard that there's apparently going to be a demo of God Save Birmingham at an upcoming Games Expo or something like that. At least I've heard from like a couple of places talking about it. Don't know how true that is. I guess we'll see. But I cannot imagine that this will look anything like the gameplay trailer you just watched. And if it does, man, that shit looks like it'll be so fucking boring to play. It seems like they want to sell this idea of realism, so every action you do comes with like a meter associated with it. So like you'll probably have like itches that you'll have to tend to, like you got a spot on your back you need to itch, and if you don't itch it in time, your character fucking freaks out and its panic meter explodes. He runs outside and gets eaten by zombies. Like, it just seems like they're trying to sell you on this idea of like how intricate this game is with all of its systems. So it's extremely agonizingly slow. And again, I think it's fake. I do not think this is a real game. I do think they will make something like the day before did, but it will not be what we just watched. I don't think that will be the case. That really does seem like it was all scripted and just pre-rendered and made to look like it was a game being played by somebody. But I don't think it was. Just wanted to talk about that a little bit because it's becoming pretty common now with fake games. Again, I guess it's not 100% confirmed that this one is, but I think there's a really high chance that it is. That's about it. See ya.